Light my cigarette on. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm not doing the Jim Wells thing again. The reason you saw so many, say, John, that was a good example. It's a good example how, even on a very small scale, if people think they're not going to be accountable, they do things like that. I'm stopping now. I'm in the middle of my morning routine. I clean up in the morning, and I usually listen to the news, NPR News, or one of my teaching CDs. I'm going to start with this. I might title this just propaganda, maybe. Last week we had the Russian jetliner crash going over Egypt, okay? And 226 people were killed. Now that is a tragedy. But I want you to see, as I'm listening, today is a few days, a week later, I don't even know the date, right? Today's Tuesday. And when that jetliner came down, ISIS immediately took responsibility for shooting that jetliner down. Now, if I had to place bets on this, that's what happened. ISIS shot it. And in order to get that jetliner to come down, you don't need a lot of sophisticated weaponry. You simply need the surface-to-air missiles, which I'm sure they have those. It was reported about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, that ISIS were flying planes. The media, this came out in the media. There were reports that they got, look, some of the ISIS fighters are ex-people that came out of Saddam's ex-Ba'ath Party and all, and some of those guys did fly jets. You know, these were former soldiers in some of these armies. So it's possible that they did get hold of some jets. But the U.S., for various reasons, you can have more effect if you're a terrorist group or you're a radical group. You can have more effect if the things that you are actually doing are known. So part of the strategy in war in general is the opposing side will try not to make the things known that possibly are known. And so instead of reporting that there were reports that some ISIS guys were actually in fighter jets that they might have got, I don't know how true it is, but instead of reporting it at the time, what the propaganda would do is say no. So when this jetliner went down last week, and ISIS came out and said, we did it, the Egyptian authorities immediately said, before ISIS took responsibility on the first few hours, they said, oh yes, we had some, the pilot said there were technical difficulties with the plane, he radioed in, okay? ISIS then took responsibility, and then a day later or something, Russia said, I think Russia is more honest in what they say. Russia said, the jetliner was taken down by an outside force, surface-to-air missile rocket. Seems like Russia looked at it and said, yeah, them SOB ISIS got us. Seems like that, ISIS. But why would Egypt say, oh, and Russia said, the pilot did not radio any distress signal. Now watch, see if this comes out. Why did Egypt come out and say that? It's real possible that the U.S. wanted to keep that secret, like the bombing of the hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan. There's much more to say on that issue. And so for propaganda reasons, which we might justify, it's better for the world not to know, whatever. But it looks like ISIS took that plane down. And Russia had to come out and contradict. It's a Russian jetliner. And say no. Egypt came out and said, yes, the pilot contacted and said there were technical difficulties. If you ever look at the TWA Flight 800 documentary, the odds that that plane in the United States over New York City many years ago, I watched that, I remember that. It's the odds that that plane was taken down by a surface-to-air missile somewhere out of New York, somehow, are tremendously high. But at that time, you'd have to watch a documentary. There were reasons why we took the plane up, said we're going to look at piece by piece. I forget who's in charge of the TSA at the time. So I'm listening to NPR. Now it's a week later. And right now on the news, they're saying it's such a mystery. It's such a mystery. Now the news is admitting, this is American media. It's saying, and it's given all the details. It said for some reason the plane was up, and then it took a drastic down, and then it exploded, and we have no possible idea how this could have happened. You have no possible idea how the exact mechanisms of the missile hitting a plane would cause all of that to happen. But it's such a mystery. It's such a propaganda machine. And John, why would we lie? Why would the U.S. with Egypt say, quick, let's say it's this. Let's say, because of what I explained. They'd prefer the public not to know that ISIS would have the capability. As of today, Tuesday, I would just put a guess that by the end of this week, and if Russia wasn't openly saying what did happen, we would probably, the U.S., Egypt allies, would probably still push for never admitting that ISIS did that. All of our dealings with ISIS so far, when they said they're going to execute and do all the horrendous things they do, they've never once lied. I've never once heard them claim responsibility for something that they did not do. There was a girl, I have her up here. I have her picture. I wasn't even thinking of this. I believe her name is Kayla. She was the girl that was held captive by ISIS. ISIS or Al-Qaeda, but she was held captive for a while. And then one of our bombs from a plane, either a drone or a plane, hit where she was, over there, and killed her. And ISIS or Al-Qaeda, one or the other, came out. They held her for a while. She was captive. She was an aid worker, sweet girl. I think her name is Kayla. And I think that was her name was. And I put her up there as part of our community. But the U.S. immediately denied that it's a lie, it's a propaganda. But ISIS or Al-Qaeda, one of them came out immediately, I think it was ISIS, and said, no, one of your raids hit where we had her and she's dead. And the U.S. did not work. The parents of that girl are also very upset, if I remember right. And we denied. That's a lie, ISIS. How could you believe them? At the end of the day, that is what happened. One of our planes did a raid, hit where she was, and killed her. And then later we came out, State Department spokesman, and said, sort of like, yes, it's done, but remember, it's their fault initially. I understand all that, but we lied. So as I'm listening to the news right now on the Russian jetliner and listen to NPR, and they're describing every mechanism that would take place, we have no idea why that plane started falling and it broke. And Russia immediately already said, like 2 days ago, it was an outside thing. They basically, Russia looked at it as they're not going to do the propaganda. They're not going to say what we wanted people to know. When I watched the stocks, yesterday I was working at one of my spots with the coffee shops, and I had the news was on, Fox News. The stocks are like 17,000, maybe 600. I'm telling you, listen to me, that is a shell game. And I'm going to just tell you why real simply. Historically, what you do when you buy stocks and invest in the market, it's supposed to represent the value of whatever you're investing in. Your mutual funds are invested in all types of different companies, and it's supposed to show certain values. There's all types of price-to-earning ratio and all. But what the market has been doing, for various reasons, because Janet Yellen, the Federal Reserve Chairman, and others, for various reasons, are still going to keep interest rates low, with everybody knows that they're going to do it now because of the global economy. And all of the money, extra money, that's going in to just prop up these low interest rates, all that money is flowing into the market. So in the market, you're not seeing actual valuation. Historically, you buy stocks because McDonald's, whatever, the companies, you're just seeing that money go in. Now, people can make money that way because you're still going to make money, even if it's just now a show game of how much flows in. It hits a certain high, and then people sell. You can still make money that way, but that's actually not a stable foundation at all. That's simply gambling. You can go to Vegas, and look, a lot of people make money, more lose it, but all that money made and lost in those casinos in Vegas has nothing to do with the production of anything. Okay? It's simply how much goes in, and you're going to get lucky, and you're going to get some out. That's what that market is right now. But as I watched one of the CNBC guys or Fox Financial guys, they're all saying it's amazing, I guess. And they even openly admitted, it was a financial person, said, well, we know now China is basically crashing. We know the global economies. We know everything now. And people have just averaged that in. They're now just accepting, well, the truth is, none of the indicators are going well. We're heading towards a very, very bad fiscal crisis and probably a very bad crash. But the people have all factored that in, and they're just going to keep. That's a show game, okay? And much of you that are thinking, well, historically we're in a bad time. Historically, we're looking at a really bad global crisis. And it's not a one-time boom that's going to hit, but it's going to happen. And it's going to be bad. So this video is just, I was upset. I even stopped my cleanup routine because that's propaganda. Now let's see what happens with the Russian jetliner. Today is, I don't know the date. It's Tuesday, November the 3rd, 2015. As of today, in the media, they were pushing for that jetliner could not have come down by ISIS, though ISIS said, look, we took it down. And they've not lied yet in any of their public statements, including the sweet girl that was killed, that I just showed you a picture. And Russia, after they looked at it, and even said, now, the U.S. and Egypt are saying, yes, the pilot called in. Russia said there was no call in, that they were in distress. So Egypt, probably along with the U.S., just thought, let's start making that up. And you can get away with making it up because the pilot's dead. So we'll see. I gave you the date. Let's see if by tonight or tomorrow they finally say it was hit by a surface. It's a tragedy that those people died. I think it was 226. But let's see. Let's just see. Okay, I got to upload one more Jim Wells Deputy one. I made them all the other day, and then maybe this one, and then the teaching video. Okay? It's a beautiful day. And I'm not sure. The teaching video I made off the cuff the other day, so I'm not sure the next one after that. But I need to add some verses. I did some new teaching on Lemaitre, who was the Catholic physicist and priest of the 20th century, who's the first one that came up with the Big Bang Theory. And yet I talked a little on the post. I wrote some new things already. I still got to add that on. And I talked how Einstein and Hubble and Lemaitre all together, their discoveries all added to our understanding of the Big Bang. So that's going to be the teaching video that goes up as soon as I add all the verses, okay? Let me do this. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. God bless you all.